You're listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.
Welcome to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living with your host, Rosalind Sedaka. Join Rosalind each week on a journey toward overcoming life's many challenges to achieve peace, empowerment, and positive transformation. It's time to relax, unwind, and transform your life with Rosalind Sedaka.
To WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network. And this show is Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living with Rosalind Sedaka. As you know, I'm founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network, and every week we talk about issues related to divorce and lifestyle, dating after divorce, and avoiding mistakes in your life, especially to protect your children. And today I'm very excited to be introducing you to a friend and colleague of mine who's doing wonderful work. Her name is Lisa Decker. And the show's theme today is how to fund your kids' education, not your attorney's kids. So Lisa is a certified divorce financial analyst and a real estate collaboration specialist in divorce, and the CEO and founder of Divorcetown USA, as well as Divorce Money Matters. She's also the author of the book, How to Divorce Your Spouse, Not Your Money. I love that title. And has recently founded the Divorce Help and Hope Support Group on Meetup. So she's a very busy lady, and she has a wealth of information to share with us today. So let's dive in. Welcome, Lisa Decker.
Thank you so much, Rosalind. It's always a pleasure to be on with you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm very excited about this show. So you are a person who understands divorce, especially from a financial perspective, and you understand the fact that when you're having a divorce, you want to keep as much of your money as possible for important things such as your child's education, and you don't want to be spending money in the wrong direction so that it's going into the hands of attorneys who do not have your family's best interests at heart. And as you and I both know, there are wonderful divorce attorneys out there who are doing work in a child-centered manner. And then there are others who don't have their hearts in taking care of your family in the best way. So you and I both love to work with the divorce attorneys who are child-centered. And so let me ask you a few questions and see if we could get some really insightful information during this time we have together. What are some ways to get divorced, and how to find the different ways that affect our children?
That's a great question. And before we start, I just want to say, I reiterate what you say. This is not about attorney bashing, because having legal representation is just as important as having emotional support and someone who helps you with the finances, who is well aware of divorce and finances as well. And there are many fine attorneys out there who really have their client's best interest at heart, and that includes caring for the children in divorce. So we just want to help folks understand that the way that they begin their divorce, the options that they choose, have a great impact on how they're going to go through their divorce and the impact on their finances, on their family, and their future. And that can, we really have to understand those options, and the type of attorney that you choose and the manner that you choose to go through this will dictate many times how it's going to go and how it's going to finish and the results afterwards. So some of the options that you asked me about. I have a roadmap that I created, a visual roadmap, because I wanted people to be able to see that there are different ways to go about this. Typically, when we hear the word divorce, people think of, War of the Roses, lawyer up, put your boxing gloves on, and let's see who can battle it out the best. and become the winner in the end. And really, there are no winners in divorce. Many times it's been said that, if both people are equally unhappy, then that's, a winning divorce. And I don't even believe that, but, that's been expressed in the field. I do think that, both parties need to be able to give and take and understand that nobody's going to get all of what they want, and come to it with a civil manner, respectful, understanding what's at stake, what you own, what you owe, what may be owed to you, and then making wise decisions based upon that. So the options that you're looking at on a more peaceful manner would be what I call savings lane and peaceful place on my Divorcetown roadmap. And that's going to be things like mediation, arbitration, collaboration, cooperative divorce, and each of those have pros and cons to them. We don't have enough time to go into all of that in this show. I do have some gifts that I will offer at the end of the show that people can download that will explain more about that. But the ins and outs are that those amicable divorce is also another option here in Georgia that we hope will be spreading across the country. So there are options that you need to know about if you want to work with your spouse, if you don't want to destroy your family in the process, if you don't want to give all of your money away in legal fees. Look into those aspects and see if that's a good fit for you. And if your spouse is not on board, is not cooperating, and still you may be able to manage some of those processes if you have a good mediator, if you have a good attorney who understands how to work with a spouse who is still not of the same mindset as equally as you can, it's still possible to have one of those types of divorces, but sometimes it's not possible. You and I both know there are divorces where one spouse won't provide documents or is controlling or is abusive. And there are situations where you must have more legal insight, more legal protection. And if that's the case, then you want to look at, your traditional litigated divorce. And this is what we see typically over time, what has been what people think of. Each party has their own attorney. They go through a long, protracted legal process, including discoveries and possibly depositions and interrogatories and forensic accounting and on and on and on, and the associated fees that go on and on and on with that. And if they don't come to their own settlement, then they end up in court before a judge, letting a stranger decide the fate of their situation. And so that is what we want to help people who are able to understand that they can avoid.
Yes. So how do we make the best decision for each of our individual families? I always tell clients no two divorces are the same, no matter how similar they may appear on the outside. We have to make the best decision for our family, for our children, for both of us involved, for our finances, and for our specific future. What advice do you have in that regard?
Well, I would say that, again, how you start your divorce is likely how you're going to end it. So picking the best choice, the best path for your family from the beginning is going to give you the best opportunity to control the process and keep the legal fees down, keep all the fees down. If you don't understand what you're getting into, it's very easy for your divorce to take on a life of its own. If you are leaving your choices up to professionals without being a proactive partner, not a passive participant, I tell folks that all the time. This is your life. You need to be the CEO of it. So don't be a passive participant. We want you to be a proactive partner. If you're leaving that up to people to guide you without being involved in the process, then you may be led astray at times. You have to understand and be involved in the decisions that you will face. And that's hard for some folks. They may be emotionally beaten down. They may be shocked by being forced to divorce. And, it's a lot to handle when you're not in the best frame of mind. That's why you need what we call the three-legged stool, the emotional support. So you have someone who specializes in that, like a therapist or a divorce coach or both, to help you with tools and tips and, guidance to get through the process. Someone you can bounce ideas off of, how to handle things, even when your spouse is sometimes being a louse. That's going to be vitally important. And then you also want to have specialists in the finances who understand divorce and finance, because they are going to be able to help you in the aspect of what are my best options when you may not be thinking clearly. A lot of times revenge comes into the picture, and that may not be getting you what is really in your best interest. So having someone who is the voice of reason there in that aspect can be very, very valuable. And also help you to keep your legal fees down, because you're using each of your professionals for what their specialty area is. And then, of course, having the best attorney for your particular situation so that they can make sure that your legal interests are protected, that your legal questions are answered through the process. So really looking at your particular family, how do you want to go through this? Do you need an advocate? Do you need a neutral party, such as a mediator, and start from mediation where you're both working together with a neutral party that's there for the process? A lot of folks come to me as a financial neutral. I work with a lot of couples, so that's another option. If you find a divorce financial planner who can work with a couple who wants to just sort out the finances, because think about it, Roz, most people don't really look at it this way, but divorce really comes down to the children and the finances. Yes. And then you have the legal aspects come in to tie it all together, right? So, if you start with what is it I'm trying to accomplish here? And what way do I feel like I could get through this with the best outcome possible? If you're looking at the end game from the beginning, and your goals, and maybe your goal is just to have the right professionals guide you because you don't know what you don't know. Okay, then start there, seeking the right help. Because I got to tell you, so many people have come to me over the years and say, oh, my situation's pretty simple. And even in the simplest of cases, there are things that can go wrong in the financial aspects, especially around credit and insurance and other things. So even when it seems simple, a consult with someone to make sure that you are that simple as you think can save you tremendous amounts of money and heartache in the post-divorce life. So I would say that getting the best outcome comes from having solid goals and having superior guidance through the process to get you what you really want, or what you as close to as what you want as possible. We can't ever promise people that they're going to get everything they want. If someone is doing that, that's a red flag to me.
Yes, I agree. Well, thank you, Lisa. That was a really great answer to the question for us to be aware of. And we're going to take a real quick break before we continue talking with you. You've been listening to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living on WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network, and we will be right back.
Do you enjoy stirring and realistic fiction? Check out author and veteran Paul Holbert's work at literaryvet.net for intriguing books that will keep you turning pages. Paul uses his experiences to create novels that are true to life, such as his latest, Term Limits, a political crime thriller fitting for today's time and events. Go to literaryvet.net, a read you won't want to miss.
Okay, we are back again. This is Rosalind Sadaka with Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living on WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network. And we're talking to Lisa Decker, who is a certified divorce financial analyst, as well as founder of Divorcetown USA and Divorce Money Matters. And Lisa, I have so many questions to ask you, but I want to cover the financial preparations that everyone should make in various aspects of divorce. So if you could just give us a minute of your time to explain the best financial preparations if you're contemplating divorce. Let's start with that.
Okay. If you're contemplating divorce, the best thing that you can do is get a grip on what you own, what you owe, and what may be owed to you. And you do that by starting to gather documents related to your assets, your liabilities, your income, and your expenses. That covers all of the range, most of the range of what you're going to need to know. You may need also insurance matters and such as health and life and disability, things like that. And then, anything else that you can think of related to your particular situation. I would say put it on a flash drive, put it in a cloud. Once divorce starts, sometimes things get ugly and those documents have a way of disappearing. That's
great advice. So if we're starting the process early on, how do we make financial preparations in that stage?
Well, if you are just starting, so say it's been a while since you're contemplating, now you're ready to get started. You want to update those documents. Maybe accounts have changed, maybe values have changed. So bring your financial advisor and your attorney the latest statements that you have on all of those accounts. If your divorce is going to be contentious, then I would say you want to have and you believe that, there's money missing, and you need to do a tracing for a forensic accounting of something, some sort like that. You want to have all the statements going back as far as you can to when you think that this issue started.
That makes a lot of sense. So are things any different if we're looking at our financial situation in the middle of the divorce?
Well, in the middle of the divorce, if you are going a traditional litigated divorce, you should have already gone through the discovery process. Your time may have run out to continue doing that unless you can find assets or liabilities that were uncovered since then. So you have less options. That's why it's really important to do as much in the beginning. If anything new comes to light, certainly bring that to your attorney and your divorce financial planner's attention immediately. But you're not going to have as much leeway on things.
Yeah, that makes sense. So the interesting question now is, what kind of financial preparations and insights should I have if I'm at the post-divorce stage and suddenly I realize that things are not going in the way I was hoping?
Well, that's why we like to do as much pre-divorce planning as possible. So people have a really great understanding of, their budget, especially. What does it look like on the other side? What are my expenses going to be? What can I expect in income from work and from child support potentially, alimony potentially? But if you haven't done that, now is the time to sit down and do it, because you don't want to go through any savings or investments or tap into retirement, even worse. To meet your needs. You want to get a good grip on that from the very beginning and work with an investment advisor, a trusted investment advisor who can help you put that money to work so that you're building for your future.
Totally makes sense. So before we go any further, I want to make sure people have access to finding you, contacting you, and taking advantage of all you have to offer. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Thank you for asking. Surely. I can be found at divorcemoneymatters.com. We offer a 15-minute free complimentary consult. So reach out if you have questions. I also have a community of which I am so excited and proud that you are a member of, and that is at divorcetownusa.com. And you can find a lot of free resources there. Both websites also have free gifts that you can download with lots of resources to help folks get started and get through this process as best as possible. I can also be reached through my office at 678-562-2599.
So you're based in Georgia. Does that mean that you only work with people who are in Georgia?
No, actually, I do full financial analysis in the state of Georgia because the state laws are very different from state to state. And outside of Georgia, I coach clients to get a solid foundation under them and then help them find professionals in their own state.
So that's wonderful. I just want to reiterate what Lisa is saying. Because she's a coach, she can work anywhere and help people in a broad way in preparation and giving advice and suggestions and helping them plan ahead, regardless of where you live. And that's the same as I do as a divorce and co-parenting coach. I could work with anyone in any state or any country. And it's good to know that you have a professional of her caliber who can talk to you and help you, and then also make recommendations about professionals if you need someone specifically in your state to follow through with your divorce. Is that correct?
Correct. I mean, we do our best to reach out within our professional networks to find professionals in other states who will meet the same criteria for what the client needs. And, I enjoy, my team enjoys really helping people get that solid foundation. I have a lot of people who reach out from other states as far away as Alaska. I've had clients who aren't really ready to divorce, but need to understand what it's going to look like if they do get divorced. So we do a lot of that kind of thing as well. And that doesn't mean you're going to have to get divorced. Sometimes just getting a grip on the finances helps people to strengthen their marriages as well. So we also have had people get back together, and that's always a happy day.
That's wonderful and insightful for us all to understand. So briefly, because we're getting close to our time limit here, I just wanted to ask about divorce financial planning and the relationship with college financial aid planning. What could you tell us briefly about how to make that work? Because so many of us have children that are getting closer and closer to the college age.
Yeah, this is a really important tip. And what I will tell you briefly is that if you are going to agree to a college planning as a part of your divorce settlement, and it's not required in most states, but sometimes folks of greater means do want that in writing, I suggest that you have a separate agreement outside of your settlement agreement, your divorce settlement agreement, that tells the terms of that. And the reason for that is because college financial aid offices will look at your settlement agreement. The aid will be based on the parent that the child who has majority custody. And, typically that's the lower wage earner, because that person, usually we see moms and they don't make as much money as dads. So moms make less money typically. And so if the kids if mom has physical custody according to the separation agreement, then the college financial aid will be based on her income, not the father's income. And that can be a tremendous difference, and that can make a great difference in the amount that the children will qualify for in financial aid. So it doesn't work out in every case, but why not give your child the opportunity? If divorce includes college planning, college funding as a part of everything, put it in a separate agreement.
Excellent. That is really good to know and be aware of in advance. So before we leave you, Lisa Decker, what is your biggest takeaway for our listeners about how to cope with the enormous challenges of preparing yourself financially for a divorce?
Well, I would say the biggest thing is, planning. And just like so many things in life, this is not a time to do it alone, be alone. It's not a time to wing it. It's not a time to stick your head in the sand, and know what you're getting into, and work with people who you've inquired a lot of questions about that feel like a good fit for you. Just because your neighbor recommended an attorney that her sister's girlfriend's husband used doesn't mean it's the best attorney for you. So be very aware of who you hire, what your process is going to look like. And I want to end with telling you that the title of this show regarding, financing your children's education, not your attorney's kids' education, was some wise words spoken by a judge that I read about one time. And he would get litigants in front of him and say, do you want to fund your attorney's kids' education or your own? And so think about that with every choice that you are making here in your divorce. Where do you want your hard-earned dollars to go? To your family, to your retirement, to your children, or to someone who maybe doesn't have your best interest at heart?
I love that. Thank you so much, Lisa Decker. Lisa, you said you had a gift for our listeners?
Yes, at divorcemoneymatters.com, you can download our free divorce financial fitness kit. There are several gifts within there, a list of all the documents you need to gather, 50 must-ask questions if you're hiring an attorney, and an ebook. And at Divorcetown USA, we have a roadmap for you and another ebook on how to navigate through your divorce with all the options and the pros and cons that we talked about earlier.
Now, that's a wealth of information from a wealth expert. So thank you very much, Lisa Decker. I am so delighted that you were able to share your wisdom with us. And we thank you very much for spending time with us.
My pleasure. Thank you, Roz.
So we are finished with another show. Again, this is Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living with Rosalind Sadaka, the founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network. You can find all the resources that I have available for you before, during, and long after divorce at childcentereddivorce.com, including a free ebook on post-divorce parenting, success strategies for getting it right on the homepage at childcentereddivorce.com. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Hope you'll join us again. Bye-bye for now.
You're listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio Channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.